everything that we can do to reduce our consumption by this required 45% to comply with the new water restrictions. And if we do that, we won't be penalized. But if we get rationed of somewhere in April when the water is actually turned off, the city has indicated that the CBD, Cape Town, won't be turned off because it's the economic hub. They've also indicated that they will not unnecessarily turn off supply to, they will try and prioritize supply to hospitals, schools, old age homes, clinics. But we all know that technically in the network that's almost impossible. They will have to keep the whole of Barrow, Belleville area on, and they may be able to switch parts of Sunningdale or Edgemead or Durbanville off, because that's the only way that they can isolate certain areas. So what will typically happen in a worst case scenario here is that we will get water rationing. We might have intermittent supply where they turn off the supply. You're in a lucky position on this campus that you have a reservoir here which has about 2 days supply, 1.5 days supply, and underground, just in front of this building, under the grass, and there's a set of pumps from there which distribute water to the campus. So we can actually cope with intermittent supply, provided that when the water comes back on, say it's off for 4 hours or 6 hours a day, we can top up our reservoir again and we can survive. But in that case, we have to reduce consumption down to the 300 or 350 target. Let's say 300. We don't believe that scenario is enough for you to have the assurance to continue with your work. So I mean, we have important experiments happening here. There's research happening, and there's also a large, income from the students being here. And we don't want to create the perception that we are left to our own devices and have to rely just on the city. So we are implementing a scheme, and we have drilled to date a number of boreholes. The first is an existing borehole that sits at the back of the sports field there. It's very low yielding and fairly poor quality. It's got lots of iron and manganese in it, but it can be treated. We have then, on the advice of GEOS, proceeded to drill 2 more boreholes on the sports field, and you would see the boreholes there. The rig was here in December, and we have drilled a 4th borehole just there as you come in on the left hand side, and as I said, in a couple of weeks time there'll be a rig on site to drill a 5th borehole in this area here. We're not sure exactly where that's going to go. We're waiting for advice from GEOS. So we spoke to GEOS yesterday, and the estimated yield from each of these boreholes is in the region of 1 litre per second. The existing borehole is giving 1.3. For us to take this campus off the City of Cape Town supply, we need 10 litres per second. So that's almost, that'll give us our full supply, but that's not over 24 hours. You can't pump a borehole for 24 hours. You've got to let it rest and the aquifer to recharge. So you will probably pump from the boreholes for about 12 to 16 hours a day, allowing each borehole to rest for at least 8 hours. So we need a source of 10 litres per second. The problem with the water quality from groundwater on the site is that it's got iron in it, dissolved iron and other metals such as manganese. It's got a bit of color and a bit of turbidity, which means it doesn't comply with the SANS 241 drinking water standard, and we have to treat it. Luckily, we have a solution, and we're implementing this in Stellenbosch. It's a containerized treatment plant that removes iron and disinfects the water and brings it up to SANS 241 drinking water standard. And we are meeting today with contractors on site, and the facilities management has instructed us to proceed to get quotations and firm up prices for the implementation of a scheme on the site. Unfortunately, we need 10 litres per second. From the boreholes, we only have 5. So what we need to do is look for a supplementary source, and the plan at the moment, as you can see there, is unfortunately you will not be able to use the pool. We are looking at utilizing the pool as a 500 or 600 kiloliter storage, about a day's supply we can store in the pool. And if we get to the situation where the 5 litres per second from the boreholes is not enough to top up the intermittent supply from the city, we will be forced to tanker water in from the Belleville quarry into the pool, and we are planning a scheme which will be able to pump water from the pool to supplement the borehole supply, and looking at a location somewhere around the sports field here for the location of a containerized treatment plant. So the red pipelines there, you'll soon be seeing a contractor digging trenches on the site to lay those pipelines to be able to incorporate the supply from the boreholes. You'll see the rig back here drilling another hole, and you'll see mechanical contractors installing the treatment plant. So it takes about 2 to 3 months for the treatment plant to be built and then brought to site. It'll be locally manufactured, and it'll look something like that. Blue container with all the filtration equipment inside. We've just built one and implemented the first one in Stellenbosch. You would have seen in the Cape Times last week Friday, I think there was an article on it. They didn't have any pictures, but that's the actual plant that was installed in Stellenbosch. That can produce 1.3 million litres a day. So we're looking at the option of a similar plant here, except it will be about half the capacity of this. And we need to, as I say, hopefully we'll find another good borehole or two and we can get it all from groundwater. If not, we will have to tanker in water, but we will be aiming to have a supply on this site which pumps directly into the incoming main, fills up the reservoir so that there will be continuous supply. So the scenario we're looking at is if we get down to the 300, we may be able to get away with just the boreholes. Everything we use more than 300, we have to tanker in from somewhere else and put in the pool. That is really the scenario we're looking at for this site, and it's quite a costly project to do, but it's something that I think Nadeem is keen that we reduce our reliance on the city's potable supply and make our own water while the situation is ongoing, and then in the long term we can review. But the plan at the moment is to have this plant here for at least 24 months on a lease, and then either purchase it as a permanent option, or remove it from site if the situation is changed, the risk profile has changed. Okay, so there's a similar scheme plan for the Bellville campus if you're interested. There's a treatment plant also on order for the site here, and an irrigation supply coming from the quarry, which will be treated and then pumped into the existing mains. Okay, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to have a chat with us afterwards. So that's all I have at this stage. Nadeem, do you want to?